Hello and welcome everyone to episode 158 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derrick Bittner, and I'm joined by my co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of various manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaiju Number 8, many, many more. And... man, Dressrosa really is just it's the gift that keeps on giving, man.
Really? Right. It's just... man, this might become a favorite arc at the rate it's going. If it keeps up this consistency, it could easily hit the top, like, favorite arcs.
Yeah, it's kind of getting up there. And I feel like I undersold it, if anything. And I keep getting reminded of just like all of the individual things that I'm remembering about the story. I'm like, man, this is some really cool stuff.
Well, that's the thing that I was thinking about here. It's not just that it's a culmination of certain like buildup of plot points, because that is there and that definitely strengthens it to some degree. But even just the original stuff is interesting. Like we get a very, very good backstory in a single chapter, the set. And I'm just engrossed each time. And it's really fun not knowing what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially as we'll continue to look back, I think we'll look back on Dressrosa and kind of realize that at least I'm kind of feeling like it is a really important story to be told in the setting of One Piece, right?
Yes.
I feel like even right now you kind of get the sense that this whole story about the kingdom, you know, like I feel like we are kind of getting bits and pieces of lore, bits and pieces of what happened. It continues to be relevant in a way that I think that, you know, how we always kind of meme about, you know, like, oh, you know, Skypiea always comes back.
We got our sister arc. Dressrosa always comes back.
Yeah. So, well. Yeah, this really feels like Oda's game plan almost. So I'm ready to talk about these next 5 chapters.
Yeah, let's do it and get to chapter 721, Rebecca and the Soldier, and Caribou kind of kicking some butt.
Yeah, he's ready for. I don't like that he has a hype entrance. I kind of don't like that, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah, he is absolutely destroying Scotch the Oppressor. So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess he did earn that reputation. It's just he just doesn't compare to the Straw Hats.
This cover story takes some wild turns. This set.
It really does.
Man. One Piece is bonkers. Evergreen statement, but One Piece is bonkers.
We say it each time. I never thought I'd enjoy a Caribou story this much.
Yeah.
So, but let's get into the chapter itself where last time Rebecca actually kind of, sort of, not really tried to kill Luffy with the help of the other gladiator prisoners in order to better her position, in order to win the flame fruit. Luffy obviously had no issue deflecting that, and she's just distraught now because, you know, the soldier's going to die, and he's like, "What's the toy soldier? The one-legged toy soldier I met out there? Why are you worried about that? It's weird that he's alive in the first place." So It's time for Luffy to kind of get caught up on what everybody else is learning. And I like that he's able to actually do that thanks to this connection with Rebecca.
Yeah, and I feel like just due to circumstances, like this is the kind of thing that he would, like, you could see him just like falling asleep or like not really caring about, but he's kind of actually in a situation where he's kind of invested and wants to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, he cares about Rebecca, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
So he's all about it. And she basically explains that the toys might as well be humans. They befriend the friendless, become siblings to the only child, and bring love to the lonely. And it's like, it's interesting to see how the toys are viewed from somebody that's lost their memories. Because why does that happen? Because they are the ones that were friends. They were the ones that were siblings and so forth.
Yeah, it's very funny to see just, you know, Rebecca kind of think back, you know, on the day I lost my mother, the only family I had. He's like a father to me. Just kind of like, we know that they're forgotten, so you're just kind of like,
yeah. Funny that. And yeah, Luffy's just, like, oh yeah, that soldier. So interesting. But yeah, the ring has been replaced and her match is getting ready to start. So she's drying up her tears and getting ready to head up. And that's when she notices that Luffy's eating the food off the floor. And he's like, oh, well, 2 of the lunches flipped over during that whole thing. So, you emptied your purse buying it from me, so I don't want to let it go to waste. But yeah, still tastes good.
Yeah. Yeah, God, I mean, just every time you think, right, like that. If there's one particular part of Luffy's characterization I love is the way that he handles himself around food, and not just in like the big eater kind of, not in the humorous sort of sense, but in the like, not only is he not going to waste food, but that that Rebecca bought it for him is enough that he's going to eat it regardless of its condition. And I love that line from him too, where he's just like, you don't seem like a prisoner to me though, and she just kind of gives him that kind of restrained look.
Yeah, it's a fascinating bit of insight from Luffy, but also what a callback for this whole thing, because we got to go far back to the beginning, the first 10 chapters with who else ate food off the floor in order to show being thankful to somebody that tried to help them. Zoro with the rice balls from the little girl.
Yeah, I literally just, like, as I was kind of formulating my thought, I remembered that scene.
Yeah, it's the same sort of idea, and it's a great way of showing how much food can communicate between people.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why so much about One Piece is we have a party at the end of every arc, the way that we're like food is special, and Luffy almost kind of like communicates through food and knows what it's like to not have enough and knows what it's like to go hungry, which is why, when somebody does something for him, like pay for his lunch, he's like, he's ride or die for you.
Exactly. But this kicks off a flashback as she walks towards her block. And we see a young Rebecca with her mother. They lived on the flower field that everybody's been heading to. They're eating happily and it's all seems to be good. Until something happened to the king and the Riku royal army has set fire to the village and the royal palace is aflame. So what's going on? And all of a sudden, her mother, named Lady Scarlet, has to make a run for it with Rebecca because people are after her, including the guy that is kind of the big final challenge for this tournament.
Diamante.
Diamante.
The part of... I think, he's part of the Doflamingo family.
Yeah.
So I feel like that immediately should ring alarm bells as to what's happening here.
He has the flame fruit that we need to win. So already some extra connections there. And he's getting ready to take him. But that's when the toy soldier comes out of nowhere with guns and starts blowing these people away to protect these two. And, run, get out of here, get away as far as you can, save yourself. And they make it to that tree that we saw where all the Tantata are meeting right now. And Rebecca's like, I'm hungry. He's like, well, of course you are. It's been 2 days without a bite. So take care of yourself. Don't move from this spot. I'm going to go buy you something to eat. And that's when it's like, toy soldier, like, where'd the toy soldier go? There was all this rustle from the town. What's going on? And all of a sudden, here comes the toy soldier back, carrying the body of her mother.
Yeah, it was just brutal.
Yeah,
and to be confronted with that, and the toy soldier gives her, a loaf of bread of just like, she said you were hungry and waiting, and that she left to go get her something to eat, and
and that's I'm never hungry. Why is she never hungry? Mm-hmm. Because her being hungry, in her mind, led to her mother's death.
Yeah.
It's like, never stated, but my God, it's
brutal.
It's brutal and a brilliant connection. I love this when it's understated like that where Oda doesn't have to say anything. You just need to, you put 2 and 2 together yourself. It's trust in the reader. And I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And just, I'm sorry. And she's crying so much. She's like, no, shut up. You've got, well, no, actually he's saying, I'm sorry, because she's crying and she's like, and they're looking for her. It's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't save her. She was a very special and powerful person. But did you know that there's a new king? This new king is attempting to arrest everyone who used to be important. And because you have your mother's blood, he'll be coming for you too. I couldn't save your mother's life, but I will give mine to protect yours. Until the day that you are finally happy, I will be at your side. And she's just like, I'd rather have mother. It's like, I hate you.
Yeah, as a kid would naturally. Of course, the poor toy soldier, trying to bend himself over to make the kids laugh as he normally does. I do kind of like, you get kind of the sense whatever had happened, right? Because we don't quite know what happened between
Doflamingo and the king.
Yeah. There's some politics here that we're still quite not sure about yet. But I feel like there is a little bit of like, oh, well, Rebecca is seemingly more important than you would think on the surface.
Right. And we do get that answer.
Yeah.
But, man, just seeing younger Doflamingo laying claim to this place, everybody cheering for him. Is like, the Riku dynasty has presided over a land of misery and poverty for centuries. Finally, they even sank to stealing valuables from their citizens in an act of shameless greed. But I will bring this land true wealth. And you see what the toy soldier has to do in order to provide for Rebecca, protect Rebecca, keep her entertained and all this, and keep her safe. It ingrains you to this character so much.
Yeah, definitely. By this point, like, if this isn't Rebecca's dad, definitely like father figure vibes for sure.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah,
so.
like it's one or the other, right? It's either father in a literal sense or in a figurative sense.
Yeah, or like one of those guards that just puts down that, like, I will do what I can to save you. But yeah, the connection builds.
I feel like this is also really good because it's also kind of, we're finally learning like what Rebecca's fighting for, right? Like, we kind of had those little bit of, hints, the way that, like she wants to just live a happy life with the toy soldier, and to be freed from this life of fighting. And now it's just like, now you're kind of, being able to see just kind of what led to that point.
Yeah. And also just, what certain meanings were. Like, he couldn't sleep in the same place. So he always had to go back to the House of Toys because of those laws. So as proof of my presence, every morning I will drop a fresh flower petal through the crack of the window. And we saw those flower petals earlier when she, saw him pass by and called out to him. And
oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
She had said before, it's like, I don't want to be helped by him anymore. I want to be the one to help him. And we just see her going up, him fishing and getting bit by sharks, him celebrating her birthday, her going to play with other kids, and then getting hit by a boy. So he smacks him, and then another boy has a love letter for her, and he smacks him.
I love that this will probably be in an SBS in a bit, but I love that his jacket says "Mo shimasen," which means I won't do it anymore.
Oh no. At one point, she gets kidnapped by these people, like people looking to sell an orphan. And that's how he becomes wanted and has a bounty on himself. So it's at this point, like, she's a little bit older. She looks to be about, 8, 10?
Yeah.
That's when he teaches her how to fight. But mother said I shouldn't hurt others. Oh, I'm only teaching you how to avoid being hurt yourself. And that's the flashback. It's just what led to this bond between these two. And it is a single chapter. And again, calling back to those original set of 10 chapters from One Piece, what a step up from Oda to do. Like, you got all of Zoro's backstory in a single chapter. Now you have all of Rebecca's, or at least the toy soldier's backstory in a chapter. Yeah. So much more compelling.
That's a really good observation, because I feel like it is kind of really clear just like how much Oda has grown as a storyteller, for like just the amount that he can. I say cram affectionately, right, into a single chapter, like to really just sort of to tell a story in a single chapter effectively, right? To sort of get you just like a slice of what this person's life was like, the details that he chooses to show and chooses to omit, the things that, we'll kind of learn later. And the more I think about it, the more like there's a good few of those in this arc that I feel like are like really good single chapter stories. Like, that's just kind of like an exploration of a single character.
And I think that fits here because, she doesn't have like connections to anything major, at least that we're aware yet. There's some connection there, but that's can be doled out through the normal process of the story. It doesn't need to be said in the flashback. It's solely focused on what led her to the point of becoming a gladiator and what's her connection with the toy soldier. And in a lot of ways, it makes you care about the toy soldier far more than you would have otherwise. Like now you get his motivations.
Yeah, now you understand what he's fighting for too.
Yes. If anything, that's almost more important. But of course, leading into this block D, it's extremely important that we know that we truly care for Rebecca.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, she drops her shield as she steps out, and that's when we get the reveal of like, here she comes. Are we all ready for this? She's the beauty of the Colosseum, the princess who never was. What other combatant could possibly rile up the crowd more than she? And everybody just boos her. Die, Rebecca. Die, loser. Scum of the Riku dynasty. And she's like, I'm going to win. All the while these people are just jeering at her. It's like, Luffy's like, why do they hate her? She's messed up. That's so messed up. She's so nice and she brought me lunch. But it can't be helped. Rebecca's grandpa was the old king, the enemy of the people. And that's her connection.
Yep. There it is. Yeah. So, and it's the princess who never was. And I feel like, because what we see from the flashback, right, is sort of like Doflamingo swooping in. And, clearly, we apparently the royal army set fire to the village. So, like, bad things were happening here for some reason.
Yeah. I think we can guess the reason, considering what we've seen Doflamingo do in the past.
You mean to tell me that he's not operating on the level?
Oh, no. I mean, what would a man who has the chapter starting to flow together here a bit is, I think it's this that we get to reveal that he has the string fruit. But anyway, we've seen him control other characters before. Yeah, he can totally make some soldiers do what he wants to make it look like they're doing something on their own.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like this is also, we're kind of getting back to that theme about like perception versus reality that we talked a lot about during Punk Hazard, right? Where kind of how the people, it's interesting because I feel like and now that we know that the Riku family, they were the royal family before Doflamingo came in. And we had the Tontadas are calling themselves the Royal Riku Army, and that the toy soldier is fighting on their side. It seems like charitably opinions are split on whether or not this Riku dynasty was also a force for good or not, but at least to the folks in the Colosseum, and certainly how much of it is reality, how much of it is propaganda, that'll be something fun to unpack.
For sure. I'm excited to get to it, so let's get to chapter 722, Royal Bloodlines. And Caribou just sank the entire factory.
Yeah, it turns out this is, what is it, like the swamp fruit? Like this actually... It's putting in work. You know what? Respect where it's due.
He just sank the entire factory. Like the rebels are just all cheering for him. Grandma's right there in the dead center. He's for the people. Apparently. I don't know. I don't trust him at all yet, but
yeah, no.
But there it is. But yeah, we get into the chapter itself with Rebecca stepping into the ring as everybody boos her, calling her the shame of Dressrosa, set the arsonist's granddaughter on fire and see how she likes it. And this has a very pointed part here. So from Luffy. So what if she's his granddaughter? What does that have to do with her? It doesn't matter what her grandpa did, which calls back to his whole thing with Don Chinjiao, which is... Yeah,
and Garp.
I did not imagine that being a runner.
Yeah, right. Like, it's kind of a theme here, right? Like it kind of are... we have a lot of people kind of like shackled by their lineage. And I think that's sort of the connective tissue between Luffy and Rebecca, right? Is kind of like trying to move forward from that.
Yeah. And all these other combatants are eyeing her up, being like, oh, if I take her out, I can get really popular and be a hero here. So I should take advantage of that. But that's when I love this. Cavendish comes out onto the ring, riding a horse and brandishing his sword, and he's just like admonishing the crowd. He's like, I expect better from you. You should all be ashamed. And all the women are going crazy for him.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, he's so beautiful. The women in the stands are fainting left and right. And they're all saying like, hey, destroy Rebecca, Cavendish, you can do it. And she's like, no, be silent. Whatever your quibble is with this young woman, she stands in the ring with the possibility of death over her head. You have no right to slander her if you will not risk your life in turn. If you truly want to see her dead, grab your weapon and step into the ring. And that actually silences people, and all of a sudden makes me respect Cavendish way more than
standing on business. I love the speech from him. Yeah, and he's just And then he says, I have my reasons for participating in this tournament, because he's a very vain individual. But I hate that it exists. The lives of warriors are not a sideshow. And then he lets the speaker, in his horse Farul, just walk off into the distance. And
He's just to have a grand entrance, and so he can talk to the crowd.
Right? That's why I love Cavendish so much. Like he did the right thing for the wrong reason.
Yeah, very much so. But just still kind of, I mean, Luffy kind of has it right. It's like, dang, Cabbage, that was awesome. You're not that bad after all. Still hate you, though.
Yeah. Turns out Luffy can't hold a grudge.
Yeah, who knew? Well, he's not letting him rest in peace, so yeah. But yeah, a lot of people are saying like, hey, I don't care about Rebecca anymore. I'm rooting for Cavendish. What incredible charisma. And you get an interesting face from him with all those cheers. Oh, but no, I forgot this is set up for a joke where he's like, what is that? It's like, that's what crowds are like. A little extra ain't gonna. They love me. They really, really love me. It's been 3 years.
Yes.
He finally got some
that recognition. Again, that's the Zoomers have invented a new terminology called aura farming, and that's entirely what this scene is.
Fair. That sounds about right.
He's just showing off.
But hey, he gets a thank you out of Rebecca. He's like, hey, don't worry about it. They made me angry and things seem hard for you. Now forget about this. We're enemies. By the way, do you think there might be some newspaper writers around? What if this gets turned into an article? I'll have to prepare my post-match interview. So, yeah, that is what it is.
He's already getting carried away.
Yep. But the bell rings, and it's time to start the fight. We got, it's not just Cavendish. We have other named characters like Suleiman, the Beheader, or Lumbus, and a few others like phases that I don't really recognize. But that there's notable ones.
It definitely feels like we have the least amount of notable characters in this block, which is why one, I think it was really smart that we kind of built up Cavendish from early on so that, we actually do, we have somebody other than Rebecca who is kind of the focus character of this block. Yeah,
if it wasn't for Cavendish, I'd say Rebecca had a lock for this block. Mm-hmm. Forgive the rhyme, but it really did. Like I couldn't foresee much opposition unless Oda wanted to get really tragic. But with Cavendish in there, it has a bit of a I don't know where it's going to go, and we don't find out in this set, and that's interesting on its own. Because we go back to that flower field in Dressrosa. So everybody's arrived. Well, at least Usopp and Robin have arrived. The legendary heroes are here, and here's, of course, the toy soldier. So this is the battle to restore the honor of the deposed King Riku and regain our rightful freedom. I will never forget the sins of the man who came to our kingdom 10 years ago and stole everything from us. So we've spent an entire year concocting this operation. Even against a warlord of the sea, there was hope for victory. And Usopp all the while was like, okay, pay attention to the plan, figure out best time to escape.
Time to skedaddle.
This has nothing to do with me.
Gotten a little over his head.
Mm-hmm. And we then go to Zoro, who is getting very precise instructions.
Left is the side you don't have your swords on.
He's like, I can't even tell right from left. Yes. But he's breaking it down. It's like the ones who attacked your ship are led by Giola, one of the Don Quixote officers. Her artistic powers are dangerous. The victims can't even fight back. It's like, how do you know that much? I was like, oh no, I've memorized the names and faces and powers of all the enemy officers. 10 years ago, the Dressrosa army was wiped out by just 3 men. Treble, Diamante, and Pika, the top officers of his group. And so that finally, we've talked about the treble officers and stuff like that in the past, and they've always had the symbols. I'm like, what does that have to do with the symbol? Because it's club, diamond, and spade. And it turns out those are the leaders. Diamante is the leader of the Diamante Corps. And he, to show how strong he is, he toppled this government as just 1/3 of the force. Technically a quarter, thanks to probably Doflamingo probably stepping in points here. But So he is something to be kind of worried about.
Yeah. Definitely time to start building up Doflamingo's crew, right, as kind of proper threats. I forget if we had him name drop before, but we I think we've seen Treble before up to this point, right? Because he's kind of the I think that's like the.
Oh, he might have been. Was he the weird guy in the tower that Baby Five dealt with at one point?
Yeah. Yes.
That's right. Treble was holding on to the flame fruit, and then Doflamingo retrieved it and gave it to Diamante for the Colosseum.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. Although we do see Pika in the background there, but we have not seen him on screen proper yet.
He looks like a Frankie fight. Just going off.
I mean, he looks like Frankie.
That is true. But hey, turns out Zoro came across Sanji and Kinemon, and it's like, oh, okay, we've met back up there. And Sanji's immediately like, wait, we need to rescue Nami? So she was in danger. No wonder she didn't respond. So, hey, aren't you here to inform Luffy of the situation? And that's when Violet shows up. It's like, hey, Gyola has your stolen ship, has stolen your ship and is sailing to Greenbit. So, yeah, here's the situation. So Violet, very good for information.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Here we go to the ship where we have the ship flying, going through the ocean, riding music and waves in the strangest looking thing. Fabulous.
Yeah, the situation has just gotten weirder.
It really is. And Nami and Chopper and Momonosuke were all sort of trapped, but Brook is free. He's actually all about the art. And it's like, he seems to be betraying them because he just gets to play music. It's like, I've reawakened to my artistic nature. Bringing forth new creations is my reason for living or dying. And Gil is like, they can't comprehend the passion of expression beyond anything in this world. And it's they're just in a, I don't even know what kind of situation they're in, but it is weird.
The sort of like painting that they've depicted that Gyola is like, it's a perfect depiction of the tragedy of Dressrosa. Just,
and apparently in 10 minutes they'll actually fuse permanently with that art. So
which all right.
Definitely is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, it turns out her devil fruit power does have stakes.
Yeah, very much so. And she knows he's Soul King, so she's all about this. And it's like, you must allow me to compose a song for your exhibit. How about a piece for violin, Miss Gyola? Please release my violin and bow. Oh, you're on. And behold, my violin bow is contained within my walking cane. Very good, I wait your song. And done. Consider yourself sliced. Huh? Sliced? Painting song, bamboo flute, sice. Hell yeah, Brook getting his flowers, taking out Gyola by tricking her. Down in that one slice, immediately goes back to normal, and bam, she's beaten. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that Brook actually he in a very kind of dumb and silly way, but used his smarts to get out of the situation of just like, hey, I'm gonna pretend to be with the enemy for a couple of pages, just because you wouldn't think like, oh right, that his musical instruments are actually his weapon.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And of course, gotta end the fight with a pun, forgive me. I don't know much about art after all. I don't really have an eye for it.
Beautiful. But our tour of what everybody else is up to continues on as we see Law versus Doflamingo and Admiral Fujitora. And Doflamingo wants to exposit. So let me tell you a tale. Over 8 centuries old, Law, from when 20 kings from 20 kingdoms came to the center of the world and established one massive power. That creation was today's world government, and the creators, those kings, brought their families with them to Marijoa, the Holy Land. Those 19 families, excepting only the Nefertari line of Alabasta, who refused the honor, have lived there ever since, ruling over the world. The descendants of the creators are known today as the Celestial Dragons.
It's a cool little bit of lore, huh?
Wow.
just kind of randomly right out of nowhere is,
yeah.
Turns out
Vivi it could have been a celestial dragon, I guess is the way to best put that. Is not, but could have been. Is in the same level as that. But for whatever reason, the Nefertari line decided, no, we're going to stay with our country.
Yeah, bullet dodged, first off.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is actually, I kind of pogged at this for reasons. I did not know that this particular detail got revealed here. By the time that you'll need to know it again, don't worry, we'll be reminded of it, because that was what that's a thing.
I mean,
as you might have.
We constantly we're saying, at least I certainly was, about how Vivi is sort of a pivotal as like a good ruler, somebody in power that isn't corrupt and it cares about her people. And boy, that goes throughout that line apparently, because good God.
Yeah, and I feel like, well, as sort of Doflamingo goes on to exposit, right? Like, so basically, 800 years ago, 19 kingdoms lost their kings. So all of those countries needed new royal families, basically. So in Dressrosa, the new royal family was the Riku dynasty, but the creators, the ones who left for Marijoa, were the Don Quixotes. So I feel like that should immediately, again, ring some alarm bells as for what Doflamingo. Like, let's not mince words. Like, he's basically coming for his birthright.
Yeah, very much so.
or what he believes to be his birthright.
He firmly believes this is his.
Yes.
Without a doubt. First of all, Law is just down. Completely.
Oh, yeah.
And Fujitora is just sort of keeping him at bay. It's like, all right. He's just sort of listening and like, about this whole thing.
Yeah, I wonder how much of this he knows.
I don't know. So yeah, Law's in trouble, and man, this is a interesting situation that we find ourselves in, and just how much more of a threat Don Quixote is, and I guess another view of the celestial dragons in terms of they left it to other families, but I guess they feel like they could always go back anytime they want.
Yeah. I also feel like we never really knew much about the celestial dragons. And I feel like because the whole thing, right, is that like, they are the descendants of gods, right? They are untouchable. They, from what I'm seeing here, like, and this should be no surprise to nobody, they're normal people.
Yep.
I think should be if they
just so happen to found the world government. That's
yeah.
it.
Basically, yeah. And so I guess I shouldn't say that because we don't know that with like 100% certainty, but I feel like that is sort of the implication, right? If like that they were just the people who formed the world government. And that's kind of it. I'm saying that because I feel like the manga could at some point do like a no maybe they actually did have like the blood of gods in them or something crazy like that, but I feel like
I kind of doubt it. That would kind of undermine things.
Yeah. I feel like that is sort of I feel like the whole thing about the celestial dragons is like, I mean, because they are so just like objectively terrible. And I feel like there's so many different directions you can go with this. One aspect, now that we've learned that they were just kind of they were the royal families that left, I feel like you do now have the situation where maybe not necessarily all of the royal families who like, quote unquote, like stayed or formed the new dynasties, but certainly in the case of Alabasta, right? Like those are good people.
Yeah, the Riku family seems to be fine if people seem to like them, and we got the sense of Rebecca and her mother.
Yeah, it's Doflamingo's word versus theirs at this point.
Yeah, and the sense here is that the sheer amount of power and privilege that the celestial dragons have been given have utterly corrupted them. But the people, the kingdoms that are still around, theoretically can be good. They can still care about their people and have the good heart. Now, it seems like this country was struggling. We don't know why. Doflamingo could have been setting up forever, just making sure things weren't going well for them in order to make his position even better. So there's a lot of unknowns there.
And I love the concept that just like the celestial dragons like are so far removed from normal everyday people that they do just become like corrupted into just deeply immoral, like unrepentantly evil people. Whereas at least from I feel like obviously we were talking about the Nefertaris and the Riku dynasty, and I feel like obviously there was no way that like the Fishman Island would become celestial dragons or anything, right. not with all that racism, but that's another good sort of example I feel like of kind of you have the royalty who are kind of close to the people and want to do the right thing for people versus
and then you have the Wapples.
Yeah.
Well, his father was good, but I guess that should be mentioned is that Wapple's father was a good man.
Yeah,
Wapple just wasn't. So you can see how that one bad egg could just completely diverge up the bloodline.
Yeah, God, there's so many really interesting little, like, there's a lot of politics, right? Like, in learning just this one reveal about celestial dragons and the world government. Also, now that we kind of saw that flashback with Rebecca, and kind of like, oh, the Doflamingo swooping in to save the day. I feel like we kind of, again, there are other motives here, clearly.
Sure. We do have an SBS, but it's not anything major. Just noticing a mistake on Oda's part with mixing up the tattoos on Law's fingers, and then somebody's dad having the Land of the Dead coming out of his butt.
Of course, the gas fruit.
Gas fruit, of course. All fitting. So, yeah, let's get to chapter 723, Change of Plans. And he's a hero. Caribou's a hero. Yeah. Gaburu's a hero. Him. The place is liberated.
I just realized, I wonder if this is a pun going on, because I feel like if you say caribou in Japanese, like karibu and gaburu, I feel like there's some kind of like, maybe they're kind of pronounced similarly. Like, oh, that's another way that they maybe have mistaken one for the other. I don't know. There's some shenanigans going on here.
For sure. Back to the Colosseum, or specifically outside the Colosseum. And Zoro's still here, trying to think of a way to get in, because Sanji has volunteered himself to go rescue Nami.
Obviously, she'd want me to rescue her rather than you.
So here's the map to the House of Toys where your comrade is being held, Kinemon. If you see Luffy, have him call the Sunny. We need to confirm everyone's situation. I'm going back to the ship. And now we got these two swordsmen trying to figure out how the heck they're going to get into the Coliseum.
Yeah, I love they're just kind of like, Kinemon's like, we got to avoid suspicion. I was nearly arrested. So we cut down the wall then?
I said avoid suspicion, so cut it quietly. The force is not the issue. And that's when we find out that Bartolomeo is not just a Luffy fanboy, he's a Straw Hat fanboy.
Yeah, he's crying through just behind the bars. It's like, oh, that's Zoro, the pirate hunter. he's marking out, and who wouldn't mark out? Seeing Zoro in person for the first time. He's just, I love that he's just like, oh, I can't see through the tears. I love it. Like the way that he's able to just. He's been following the rise of the Straw Hats alongside us, it feels like.
Yeah, he knows about Whiskey Peak.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, my boy is obsessed.
Oh my god, that's amazing. It's funny how Bartolomeo is becoming a favorite.
Right, yeah, because it's a complete 180 from how he was introduced.
Seriously. But then we actually go back to the Royal Palace, where Gladius, the guy with the cool steamwork suit and top hat, is kind of upset. He's talking to Baby Five. He's like, do you have any idea how much her betrayal has messed up our plans? Violet was supposed to seize Blackleg Sanji and pull all the details of the enemy's plans out of his head, and then we undercut all their ideas and eliminate them one by one. And what happens instead? She eliminates her own subordinates and runs off with them. So, somehow or another, this irritates him enough. And she's actually bringing up a sword to sort of block herself. Dude's hair goes so spiky, it bursts through his hat. He looks like Super Saiyan 3. Or maybe
he does
Beast Mode from Gohan in the superhero.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, it's definitely the most like spiky Dragon Ball Super Saiyan hair we've seen out of a One Piece character. And I guess for one thing, I completely forgot this character existed. It's Gladius. Second off, I guess his gimmick is that he hates people who can't stick to a time or a plan.
I guess that fits the whole clockwork theme that he has going on.
And then this actually was a really cool detail to me because, well, one, we're gonna learn how Violet's like devil fruit powers work in a sec, but apparently her all-seeing eye should have found the Straw Hats ships yesterday, which goes back to when we were on the way to Dressrosa, where like Usopp and Chopper and them were like on night watch basically. That kind of confirms that like they were kind of supposed to get caught. It turns out that kind of just them getting into Dressrosa at all is because of Violet. That is also interesting too, because it's like I guess from our perspective at this point, like she kind of betrayed because she met somebody like somebody like Sanji who was just so ridiculously horny yet pure-hearted. But I guess she was kind of up to something. Whatever she's thinking had something to do with that before they got here.
Very interesting. But yeah, we actually go to Violet and Sanji as they're heading towards the harbor. So, your crew should probably change their rendezvous point as well. It's like, the Navy, huh? It's like, there's 4 battleships, and there must be at least 3,000 sailors within the country. So, holy crap, the Navy is in here.
Oh, yeah. Which is also, I mean, we said the warning that Kuzan gave is just kind of like, you guys might want to, you might want to show up for this one. I don't know.
Yeah. And apparently her all-seeing eye can reach a range of 2,500 miles. That's ridiculous. Massive for a devil fruit. A devil fruit usually is like, a few hundred feet or 1,000 feet or something like that. No, miles.
She can tap into the sight of birds and see anything in Dressrosa. Like, no, that's we got the surveillance state devil fruit.
Yeah, seriously. And she's all of a sudden worried because a bolt of lightning just hit your ship. Lightning? Isn't it lightning? Oh, it's like, we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we're probably fine.
And everybody's back to normal, and Giola is well and proper beaten.
Yeah. Nami, what do we do with this?
Seems cruel to just dump her overboard. She does have powers. And it's just, everybody's back to normal. The ship's back to normal, thank God. Giola is well and truly beaten. It's so bad that Brooke doesn't even have a desire to see her panties.
Yeah, well, I love that. And then, who are you calling Miss Universe?
I don't know what that has to do with anything.
That's what sort of the her whole bit was sort of like misunderstanding people. Just like, who are you calling beautiful?
Yeah, something related to that.
I think it just escalated.
Yeah. But they're like, what did Law mean about picking up Caesar? And that's when Giola's like, you buffoons, you still think Doflamingo quit the Warlords? No, he's never quit the Warlords, and that's how
it's been long enough. I forgot that they didn't know that.
Yeah, they've just been under attack this entire time.
Yeah, although we are dealing with this fun little bit of like information warfare here, where Giola is just gonna you've fallen into our trap. By now, Violet will have exposed all of your pathetic schemes. Your friends will have been incarcerated. It's just like, no, not quite.
No. It really is a battle of information.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. We just get that confirmation. So you were a celestial dragon, Doflamingo. Oh, that's right. I was one, but not anymore. What is blood, Law? What is fate? Few humans have a past as checkered as mine. I'd love to share some drinks and tell you more about the distant past from before we met, but I'm afraid there's no time. I still gotta deal with the Straw Hat crew back on Dressrosa. I can't count the number of people who've underestimated them and got burned for it in the past. So I like how he understands the reputation of the Straw Hats. It's like, okay, I gotta make sure we got this locked down.
Yeah, which, I mean, I feel like now that Doflamingo's back in control, he's like, all right, things are good. Just got to make sure you gotta dot your I's, cross your T's.
He's also philosophizing again about his whole thing about fate and meaningless, and it's all about the victors and all that stuff. Like, I feel like a lot of those speeches are definitely colored by him being a celestial dragon, seeing what he's been told all these years growing up and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. There's actually now that I'm remembering some things, there's it's actually a lot more interesting than that.
Wow.
It is not simply that he was a celestial dragon, but not like there's I think by the time we'll be done here, I feel like we'll kind of know everything about his worldview.
I have a feeling, yeah. And that's when Fujitori's like, He's like, I thought I just heard a peal of thunder out to sea. There's no lightning in the sky. What are you even talking about? It's like, oh no, even with outside, I've long been able to ascertain the manner of clouds above. But perhaps these bones are growing old, and that's enough of a indication to Law. It's like, oh, okay, Nami can control the weather. He's probably on the way. And here comes Caesar. It's like, hey, you got my heart back, right? Gimme.
Like, right. I love Law's just like, I don't remember telling you that was Caesar's heart.
It just has a pile of hearts. What? You've been holding that over my head as a thread all day long. There's no heart in my chest right now. It has to be mine. And that's when, to confirm, Doflamingo squeezes it and nothing happens.
Yeah, I love that face from Caesar too. He's just like, and you hear a scream out from the forest. It's just like, oh, that was just some random sailors.
And that's enough of a distraction for Law to use room chambre. He's like, huh, you better apply the gravity, Fujitora. I'm going to escape. And he does, and it's enough for he replaces himself with a rock, which then gets crushed by the extra gravity. It's enough time to replace himself, grab hold of Caesar, and go.
Yeah, it's just all right. It feels like all right. The plan's ruined. We gotta skedaddle. Although it's clear. I mean, I do love that even at this point in the game, right? Like, Law's not out of ideas yet.
No, he's definitely going for it, which I absolutely appreciate. And the ship has arrived. We're like, all right, can we see Law? Where's he at? What do we got to do here? What happens when we pick up Caesar? Well, Doflamingo will come after us, and that's gonna be scary. And then all of a sudden, here come the fighting fish.
Yep. Can't get too close. Yeah.
They're gonna sink us. So that's not good. More importantly, we get to the chase. It's like, keep chasing me, Doflamingo. I can't have him going for the ship. I need to draw him out the bridge and then shoot Caesar over, then fight Doflamingo right there on the bridge. That should give the ship enough time to escape. And we get a little map here of showing where everybody is, where everybody's headed, the kind of the plan.
Yeah. And again, I do love, like, even though Law's on the back foot at this point, that he is able to just, like, I can just, like, transport people. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But, like, what's even better is that, like, Doflamingo immediately understands what Law's trying to do.
Yep. He's just like, oh, no, we're not going to do with that. And he's like, I'm going to go take care of that issue right now. And he's going for this group and, watch the alliance be torn apart before your eye. Before he can attack, here comes Sanji stepping across the sky with a burning kick to counter him. So we got our first real clash between the Straw Hats and Doflamingo, and it's Sanji that gets to do it.
Did you ever think that Sanji would fight Doflamingo?
No. But he just says, finally a tough one. It's like, ooh,
yeah.
Ooh. Oh my God.
I do appreciate that now that Sanji can basically fly, that it does allow for some really hype saves like this one.
Yeah. I love how Oda's just been gradually introducing these ridiculous powers and like, okay, now we're going to let the Straw Hats use them.
Oh, yeah. It's just like, you don't even blink, not even a second thought. Like, oh, yeah, Sanji will just fly. Like, yeah. And we're just going to have a midair battle.
Yeah, why not? Oh, goodness. Well, let's get into the next chapter because I can't wait. 724, Law's Plan. And we get a color spread of the Mermaid Cafe out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we're back at Fishman Island, sure.
Yeah, we get Cammy and Papagoo, and there's Jinbei in the background. I gotta say, the Mermaid Cafe is hopping.
This is great. This is another one I really want to double back and go see in color.
Yeah, I guarantee this looks pretty great.
Yeah,
it's a fun one. I like how they're done up special because Cammy's actually wearing jewelry and all that, so it's fun to see. And I love the octopus bartender who's handing out one drink, mixing another, has a meat drink, more meat teeny for Luffy.
The meat teeny, I didn't know. Oh, it's so good.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, I feel like rarely do you get to see the Straw Hats like enjoy the nightlife. Like this has a really unique kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Well, it's into the chapter itself, and Sanji immediately just unleashes his premier Hachi's Hash right into Doflamingo's chest, and doesn't seem to do anything because he's still smiling all the while. We see that little glint, and Sanji gets just scratched up like crazy. I don't know how deep the slice was, but it's the pentachromatic string.
Is that like the first like named attack we've gotten out of Doflamingo?
It is. It absolutely is. And he's just taunting. He's like, go ahead, protect your friends. And he's going back after the rest of them. And that's when he comes up and releases his Spectre, Polo Frere Spectre. And he's like, not bad. Not good enough, but not bad. And that's when he starts using the string to control how he actually is able to move. It's like, that's not a problem. That's not a good thing. And that's when we have Gyola here to explain things. It's like, he can't move. Young Master seen to that. All he can do is wait for death. And yeah, here comes the Doflamingo just straight in front of Sanji, and he unleashes this Spider-Man like string
Yeah,
out of his
actually,
palm.
this whole section is really crazy. I love this.
Oh, this is amazing. And he's just starting to call out his attack name. And Sanji's like, hey, just run. Use a Kudoverse and get out of here. And Law sees what's going on, tosses out a log, calls out Chambra's room in that whole section. And that's when Law replaces himself with Doflamingo so that they're the ones next to Sanji as he's being held up. Doflamingo's facing the other direction. His attack goes out and it goes and stretches all the way to Dressrosa where it cuts a building in half.
So if you were wondering about just how nuts Doflamingo is.
Oh, Doflamingo is a problem.
Yeah. And not only that, I am a sucker for just how like ridiculous and technical this entire sequence is. And just because there's something so like three-dimensional about how Law's powers work that it is just kind of like the switcheroo, right? That he's able to just swap places. Like he's all right, throw the log, get over here, swap myself with Doflamingo, and then just anything to get away.
That's so good. That's
seeing
so good.
What it looks like when Doflamingo whiffs an attack and it just completely bisects a building. So that's what he was going to hit Sanji with.
Yeah, and considering it's all about slicing, it does make you wonder how the heck Luffy's going to fare against him.
That's also true. Yeah,
it's one of those things like he's a paramecia. He's a paramecia it's our first paramecia in a while. It's felt like he could actually go toe to toe with Luffy.
Right. Yeah. That like, oh man, there's again. It feels like.
I guess what's his name in Impel Down was also the same. He's a paramecia.
Magellan.
Magellan.
Yeah,
so Magellan was kind of the same way. But yeah, it's get these weird paramecias that just are overpowered as hell.
If anything, yeah, it feels like on the surface, like Doflamingo's Devil Fruit ability isn't that ridiculous. It's just like all of the weird ways in which he's able to use it.
He has supercharged it.
Yeah, and really, I feel like it's not even just the Devil Fruit, right? Like it's not just the ability of strings that lets him cut a building in half. Like that's just like raw power.
Yeah. And he drops him off, drops Caesar off, and Caesar's asking Yola to save him. It's like, I'm just every bit of a captive as you. And of course, Doflamingo's already on his way back, and Law's like, okay, breakdown. Is the factory destroyed? Frankie knows where it is, but it'll be more complicated than we bargained for it. Where's Father? Where's Conjuro? He's at the factory. If all goes well, he'll be saved. So we still need more time. That's not good. Here's the incredible thing. That heart that was squeezed, that he gave to Doflamingo, was actually Law's.
Dude, again, the information warfare here in this section. And we saw bits of this. I feel like the heart play in Punk Hazard, like just Law's plans on plans on plans, and it feels like he knows he has to be this sneaky because he's up against Doflamingo. So it really is kind of like two kind of like crazy tacticians trying to outsmart each other. It's a level of it's a kind of battle that you don't really get from One Piece all that often. It's kind of really fun to follow.
Yeah, and actually, it's more complicated than that. It wasn't that Doflamingo had Law's heart at that point, because with the squeeze, we should have seen him affected. And we saw that as much with back in Punk Hazard. His heart was hidden in the ship. Caesar's heart was where Law's heart should have been.
Mm-hmm. You know what they say, keep your friends close, but your enemies much closer.
Yeah, no kidding. That's just wild chess being played right there. So yeah, the plan is take Caesar, go to Zoe right away. I gave you the Viva card. You know how to get to the next island. And they're like, wait, what about Luffy and the others? Once we've destroyed the factory, we're done with this place. We'll follow you as soon as we can. And they're like, no, we can't set sail without our captain. We're the Straw Hats. And all of a sudden, here comes a flying battleship.
Yes, of course. Like, there's no time to think.
Yeah. And then here comes Doflamingo from the other side. And Law's like, hey, you can stay behind. Just don't give him Caesar. And I just realized why the ship was able to fly like that. That is pure Fujitora because of his gravity powers. It's not just heavy gravity. It's light gravity. Good God.
He's able to do both. Yeah. So and now they're shooting cannon fire in midair, and then the meteors start dropping.
Yeah. And he's able to use the meteors and with his room to misdirect it and send it right into the Navy ship. We got to get out of here.
I love this demonstration just because Law has been on the back foot for so many chapters. It's like, no, he's still really busted.
Yeah. It just goes to show how freaking strong Doflamingo is, that he's this busted. He's really demonstrating himself, yet he was gotten just decimated by Doflamingo.
Yeah.
In the world.
And of course, I love while all this is happening, Fujitora is on the ship eating ramen. He's just kind of like, we should go back to Dressrosa.
Oh, goodness. Sanji's like, hey, the operation in Dressrosa was just supposed to be a waypoint. Our shared goal is in taking down Kaido of the Four Emperors. Is it just me or are you too invested in Doflamingo? And that gets his attention before he misdirects it.
Which is an interesting observation.
Yeah.
Well, we get a little more indication of that, too, in this. Not a whole lot, really, but... Mm-hmm. I feel like you're kind of getting the sense this is a little more personal, actually.
Yeah, and Doflamingo goes for it again, hits the Sunny, except not, because actually freaking Law caught it with his sword as it's all wrapped up there. And it's like, here's the confirmation. Doflamingo uses string powers, so you need to find a place without clouds and go. He moves through the air by throwing strings around the clouds, so if there's no clouds around you, he can't catch you. So... you need to go, use the coup de burst, get out of here. Giola's with them, and is like, she's like, don't spare me a second thought, and away they go. And Giola's still with Law, which is how he keeps Doflamingo from chasing them, because Doflamingo still has this odd connection with his people, where he gives up chasing Caesar in order to get Giola back.
Right. Yeah. So that there is something here that he actually does kind of, as long as you're part of the family, at least, that, he does prioritize that, which I feel like is a really interesting, consistent part of Doflamingo's characterization.
Yeah. If you're in the family, he is all about you. And that has to tie into his backstory with the celestial dragons.
Mm-hmm. I do like that Doflamingo kind of, lays it out here. Like, what point is there in only freeing half of the Straw Hats if the other half are still in Dressrosa, right? Like,
the others will return Caesar to me in no time because they're going to try to help their friends. So I thought there were countless people out, and that's when Law says, I thought there were countless people out there who underestimated them and got burned. No. Unfortunately, my pirate alliance with the Straw Hat crew ends here. From the moment we teamed up, I was only using them to get the Smile Factory shut down. That's all this ever was. And even if I don't take you down myself here, once you've lost your smile, Kaido will finish the job for me. So he's like, oh, so you're planning to take us both down as necessary. And he's like, oh, I'd love to see the chaos that ensues after your death, but settling our score from 13 years ago comes first, Joker. What the hell is that about? That is fascinating that he somehow realized that he could use Straw Hat to get him interested in fighting an emperor,
Yeah. And again, it feels like both of them are just having like plans on plans on plans here. But like, I do kind of like it again, how Sanji kind of was like, just a little bit too invested, right? Like this is not just about taking on Kaido, right? Or about like, redirecting Kaido's fury onto Doflamingo.
Yeah. For sure. But the thing that gets me, are the others all going toward Zoe?
Oh, that's right. You asked me about this.
Are they all out of the story now? I don't know.
I mean, the way that Nami, laid it out pretty succinctly, right? Like, we're not going to leave without our captain. But you saw the circumstances that they were in, right?
They had to use the coup de burst.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
It would throw me for a loop if those four were out of the story for the rest of the time.
It would definitely be unusual, especially, I mean, like, other than them getting separated at Saboti, right? Forcibly, like, This is kind of something different, right? Like, it's I guess, like, tactical.
Yeah. I am so curious how that's going to go. And I don't know if that'll be answered right away or if it's going to be something just in the back burner for now until it's revealed that they didn't. It's hard to say how that's all going to go, but man, it's a turn I did not see coming where they some of them were forced to evacuate just to keep the plan going with Caesar.
Yeah. And I guess that, like, at this point, it's just like, I guess they could go. I mean, Law said to go to Zoe, but like as long as they keep Caesar from Doflamingo, I guess that's kind of the key point here.
Yes.
So I feel like there's kind of
Law says that as long as you keep Caesar away, I don't care.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like there's either they're going to go to Zoe, or like maybe they'll be like kept in the back pocket for like a last minute save. I feel like it's kind of 50-50 right now.
Definitely feels that way, and I don't know how it's gonna go. It's again, it's
ain't that Dressrosa in a nutshell?
It's twists and turns that you just don't see coming. I love it. I love it so much. We do have an SBS. One person noticed that when the Tentatas were going through Robin's bag, there was candy in there, which she keeps in case, Chopper wants some. Which is cute.
Yes.
And then there's also, it's like, hey, when there are people that were covering their face to avoid seeing Bartolomeo's thing, there's a girl there who, is covering her eyes, but she's peeking right through her fingers. Who is she? Oh, that's Pikatha Crotch. Well-known young damsel from the town of Primula in the west of Dressrosa. She's very shy.
With a name like that.
Yeah, that's just sort of destiny.
Yeah.
All right, final chapter for the set, 725, The Undefeated Woman. And so, it looked like Caribou, all set. Pirates have been defeated. We got the hero of this army. And then all of a sudden, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, actually, no, never mind.
I got nothing. Like, where the hell did dinosaurs come from?
Oh, I am like 90% sure I know where this is going, actually.
Oh,
and I was about to say it, and I was like,
me.
Yeah, if you didn't remember, I was like, should I? Nope.
No, it just clicked with me because everybody was mentioning how this was the island that Drake went to. And I just remembered, like, right, Drake can turn into a T-Rex, which is freaking awesome. So we're going to be getting introduced to Drake soon.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We'll get to see his time skip design.
How does Caribou keep coming across? Like, I think that's what the key here is. Caribou
keeps coming across with Jinbei
cool characters. Yeah, it started with Jinbei, and we just keep ending up with more interesting characters.
Yep.
But we get into the chapter itself, and right off the bat, Doflamingo wants to know, like, okay, what are you going to do with Giola? You know what kind of a family we are. And she's just like, yeah, I will give my life at a moment's notice for the young master's sake. Instead, Law actually lets Giola go and says, hey, you better run as far as you can. And that's when Doflamingo's getting ready. He's like, oh, I ran across Sanji a moment ago. Our plans seem to have hit some snags, but all you're doing is lashing out without reason, Law. It's like, no, I'm not lashing out without reason. I'm fulfilling someone's long-held desire. That's why I've lived to see this day. And he uses his power, and all of a sudden the bridge is just getting cut to ribbons.
So the fight's still on, baby.
Oh, yeah.
It is, Round 2.
It is nonstop.
We thought Law took an L, but he was just biding his time.
And we're with the crew. We're with Nami, who's sailing it. We don't know exactly where it's going to be. It's saying, all right, we're all clear. If he starts flying after us, I'll raise a gale to blow the clouds away. Then he won't be able to chase us. And Sanji's telling Frankie and Usopp to keep Robin safe. So all that's left is to hope that Zoro's group meets up with Luffy. So Law's plan is for Doflamingo to clash with Kaido alive, not dead. So as long as he focuses on escaping, I doubt he'll die. And it really does seem like they are sailing off to Zoe, that they are leaving this place.
Yeah, at least they are just like, okay, we'll trust that the other half of the crew has things all taken care of.
Yeah, that's fascinating if it's actually going out in that direction. But we see that Momonosuke has actually seen Doflamingo before. When he first came to the island, again, he treats his officers well, but this is like this other guy. It's like, hey, if you can't cut down your foe, take a blow and bleed for yourself. Every human being, even the most pious saint, harbors a latent streak of barbarity that surfaces when he sees blood. Blood and death, this is entertainment.
That's, again, we're talking characterization for Doflamingo, man.
I can't wait to know more about what he's all about, but he's like slashing at his own, at these gladiators. And he's basically upset of them for not putting on a good fight.
Mm-hmm.
I am,
Yeah,
what is
and
this
that
all
the
about?
the phrase "get a grip" is sort of what triggered Momonosuke to turn into a dragon, or Yeah, I think
Oh,
turned
yeah,
into a
and
dragon.
fly.
No, yeah, that's what triggered him to fly.
Yes.
And so now we're learning that that's what that was all about.
I forgot that those were the keywords, but yes, you are correct.
Yep.
Just so he's never had a direct interaction. He's just seen him, and even Kinemon is like, "Oh God."
Oh yeah, he's just trying to cover his eyes.
Yeah, and we get a look at Kanjuro, who looks. I think he's probably one of those guys that has one of those baskets over his head. Mm-hmm. Those type of samurai. But yeah, that's Momonosuke is just extremely worried for Kanjuro in that situation. Sanji is instead thinking about Violet in the meantime.
Yes, of course. He's just smitten completely. He's just, most times hostages are treated with a bit of respect. Don't worry. He's just, his mind is completely elsewhere.
The last thing Violet said is that she's asked an associate for help, and the government's going to protect her now. So she's meeting them at the harbor. It's too bad I can't go with you, but at least you'll be safe. So she's like, thanks to you, I've gained the courage to move on. And that's when he finds out that their ship is getting attacked by fighting fish, and he goes off to help, and she's sort of on her own, and I don't know exactly what her plan is.
Speaking of, this is a particularly weird scene where she's like riding through the town on horseback. There's a TV playing Rebecca's fight in Block D, and then she shoots the TV with a gun.
Yeah, and then tells the horse to take her to the palace of all places. So she lied to Sanji. Mm-hmm. What is Violet's purpose in this? That's definitely a big question right now.
Yes.
But Zoro and Kinemon are still outside because Bartolomeo is still crying and has actually made contact. Through the tears, he can't even talk to them. He's like, I'm such a big pig pawn. It's like, I'm such a big fan. Can I have your autograph? If I look for Mr. Luffy, will you give me an autograph? It's like, you're going to say you search for him? Great. Just do that. I swear on my life, and I'll find him for sure.
I love how awkward this is. This is so great.
He's so happy. And they're like, what is with this dude? But after all this time, we're finally back to Rebecca in the Coliseum. Remember that?
Oh, right. Yeah, we started this whole set with, and we had like 3 chapters of just insanity.
Dealing with, I love how much we've dealt with Doflamingo directly instead of dealing with his underlings working up to Doflamingo. It's so
that is a really
different.
good observation, right? Because it's way different than, say, a lot of comparisons to Crocodile, right? Fighting a warlord who weaseled his way into taking over a country, and it is like, and I feel like it is so kind of archetypal, like shonen arc. You gotta work your way up through the officers before you get to the big guy. And like Doflamingo's, we've seen him more. Like, again, we saw Pika in Shadow. Like, we still don't know what that guy looks like, and he's one of his big boys, one of the officers.
Yeah, it's funny that he's so hands-on when he was a celestial dragon before.
Yeah.
Certainly playing against type, but we get to see Rebecca's fighting style, which is very fun, where she hangs next to the edge of the ring, and as they charge her, she just redirects them and tosses them out of bounds.
Yeah, which makes sense, and I love how Gyat is basically just like in every match that Rebecca's ever fought, she's never directly harmed an opponent. So, she fights honorably.
Yeah, she fights like her mother wanted her to. Her mother never wanted her to hurt people. She does not hurt people.
Oh, I actually missed this bit before where Luffy notices she's using hockey.
She has hockey and she has incredible speed. So thanks to that observation, she's in good shape. And he's cheering her on. I love how, and Gyat's is like, actually really enjoys it. Her style of battle ain't not beautiful at all. Just
double negative. Yeah. He can't bring himself to say it.
Mm-hmm. We got some more warriors being introduced, and it's Rebecca versus the Southern Kingdom of Scorchistan's military captain, Rolling Logan. Okay.
I also missed that before Scorchistan.
Scorchistan. All right, then. But her fights continue, and she seems to be doing well. She has a big opponent coming up, but we'll see how that all goes. But instead, we actually go to the medical room under the Coliseum, and basically, Don Chinjiao's grandsons are like, "Hey, where's Gramps? He hasn't come out yet. So is he dead? What's going on with him?" And that's when the others, Kelly Funk and the boxer Imogen and all that, is like, he's a tough old badger, but he ain't getting any younger. And it's like, it's, pipe down. It's just they're all kind of there. And basically they're saying is like, oh no, the exit's on the other side, so we won't return this way. Oh, that's how it works. Okay, so I'll sorry about the confusion. I'll go on in. And we get his gimmick of like really taking like going over with his emotions. But yeah, we get there to the medical exam. We're on the examination table, and you're Sai of the Kano Kingdom? Yeah. Trapdoor. And down he
commencing
goes.
examination.
Down he falls into a mountain of toys and warriors, and here's the king, here's Don Chen Zhao, here's the giant, here's a bunch of fighters we saw fighting all this time.
It's everybody, basically.
Yeah. All the losers have been dumped down here. There's no escape. Doflamingo tricked them. And apparently these walls are so tough that even the king punch won't break them because the walls are solid earth. So
I love Don Chen Zhao. I might need to curse Doflamingo to his grandson's generation. That's his gimmick.
Yeah. I feel like Don Chen Zhao, with his ability to split the earth, might be able to get through this, but maybe who knows?
Yeah.
He's also kind of beat up from the fight with Luffy, so.
Yeah. And it's also very interesting that, there's a whole bunch of, they're dumped into, a trash can with a bunch of toys.
Yeah, that too. Which, wonder if they'll get exchanged. Like these are the toys that they become, or something like that. Since they don't seem to be moving, unlike the other toys we've seen. So this would be
it's a little creepy, honestly.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's that next extra layer of intrigue here.
Intrigue. Yeah, it feels like Oda never lets this arc go too long without adding something new into the mix.
Yeah, and I appreciate that so much. This is a tournament arc in the vein of Yu Yu Hakusho, where it's the tournament is not the focus like Yu Yu Hakusho. So I still, as a tournament arc, Yu Yu Hakusho, in my opinion, is still better. But as a vehicle for other things to happen, this might be one of the best.
Yeah. It really is balanced really smartly with all of the other stuff happening right now. And it's like both, there's so much intrigue happening both inside the tournament and outside of it. And so all of these, you're getting to see all these little twists and turns, and you're asking questions, you're getting both like hints at character backstories in the tournament, but also greater lore things outside of the tournament. Like there's just a lot happening at any one time. And yeah. I am just loving the heck out of this, right? Like it's just like we said last week, like this feels like a return to like classic good old fashioned One Piece. And the storytelling keeps proving, I think, why it is so good and why, I don't know. It's just, we're constantly getting questions, but also new answers at a really fast clip.
Yes. And the best part about it is that nobody feels like they're out of the story. Like there's a lot of time, like let's put Luffy and the Snake in Skypiea. He's kind of away from things. He's kind of sheltered off. Right.
It's kind of just a way to get him to waste time, basically.
Yeah. And that's what it always seemed to be from the outset. But it's not like what he's discovering and what he's doing is not important. There's important information surrounding this that is vital to know.
Yep.
And that balance is just so fun to watch.
Yeah, and I feel like when you break it down, just how many moving pieces Oda is like, playing chess master here, and letting the other chess masters in Law and Doflamingo also, like, there's just, I don't know. I really feel like we're really starting to get into the weeds on just like the nuts and bolts of Dressrosa, and it is so much fun. I am having a blast reading this again, and we're basically. Next week we're gonna hit about a quarter of the way through.
I think right now we're a quarter of the way. Well, yeah.
Not a quarter. I mean a third. We're at a quarter now. We'll be about a third of the way through next week.
Which is approximately about Act 1 done, which is saying that this has all been Act 1.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I love it. I cannot wait. So, yeah. with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 721 to 725 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or simply BitNerd on BlueSky. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm Brandon Bovia on Twitter and BlueSky, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. And sorry to double back to One Piece real quick, because something popped into my head.
Oh?
Is this the longest that we've gone from, like, seeing a character's devil fruit power to getting it confirmed with because we got the string confirmation, and we first saw that in Jaya.
Yes, it is absolutely the longest.
like 500 chapters ago.
It was definitely easy to suspect. I think my original guess was like puppet fruit or something.
Yeah. Effectively, you were effectively correct. That, like, as far as what Doflamingo uses it for, like, it is, yes. It
Makes
is
sense.
That. Yeah.
I just had to simplify it a bit.
Yeah, I feel like for the most part, I guess that's like the fun thing is that he keeps you guessing, but like I feel like most of the time it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of what you thought it was, or is usually not too far off. There's a couple of really good ones that are like, yeah, he held it back, and it was not what you thought.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. Yep.
So, But yeah, if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derrick Bittner. That's DerrickBitner to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early, as well as patron-exclusive bonus episodes. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 726 to 730 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
My soldier, please don't die. You never gave up.